Hi everyone, it's Kris Swiatocho with Kris Swiatocho Ministries, the singlesnetwork.org ministries, Labor Day singles, as well as intentional relationship solutions. Hi everyone, just wanted to give a quick shout out to say thank you so much for an amazing 2022. I wanted to go through some of the great things that God has done this year and what we see coming up in 2023, and hopefully how you'll continue to be a part of all that God is doing. So first of all, thank you for being a part of my prayer team, for the prayer for the ministry, for your support, your financial support, for being a volunteer, for helping in whatever capacity, and even being a good friend to me, because every part of it helps for me to continue to do what God is asking me to do. So here's a few things that we look back on 2022. One of the biggest things is that COVID, the worst part, for the most part, is gone. And so while I know there's been some stir-ups in different places, different friends have still had it, we haven't seen that horrible situation we went through where, we're all having to wear a mask all the time. We couldn't be around each other. And for singles, we need community. We need to be around each other. And so we're so thankful that churches are able to come back, singles groups were able to reform, Bible studies start up again. Although we never really stopped in the ministry that I was in. We kept doing Zoom Bible studies to keep people connected. But that has been wonderful because I've been able to go to some new places as well as visit some old places to teach this year. God has continued to open doors to train leaders and pastors and prospective ones through the website videos, the resources, and even personal consulting for myself. I've witnessed so many salvations this year, tons and tons of recommitments, and just seeing folks grow closer to God, hearing their testimonies, hearing their stories of what God is doing in their life. God opened doors to share with people that had never heard of who Christ was. That I was in Europe and I was in England this year, and I got to speak to so many people who really had no experience of being in church, had never even walked in the door. And so it was a challenge for me because I had to witness in a different way. But I saw the fruit of making that step to actually make the effort. God opened the door for more ministries and churches and leaders to start the intentional relationship Bible study that's been out a couple years now. Thanks to Pastor Dan Houck and his wife for their support and the co-writing it. Dan and I wrote the study together. And again, hearing the successes, hearing the people contact us and say how much the Bible study has helped them and made changes in their life to get healthier with their kids, their friends, their family, and even some with some romance, which is always good. God is healing people's relationships. We even had some marriages come out of it. Two of my own leaders got married this year that had done the intentional relationship study. Plus, I heard of several others. So very exciting to know this information. God continued to speak through me doing live at 5 on Sunday nights. I teach for 30 minutes, like a little miniature podcast. This year I figured out with all the views of all the videos, because they're done live on Facebook and then they're watched on Facebook, but then we also have them on YouTube. There's been over 100,000 views, which I can't even believe that myself. Like, that's just crazy. And so that just tells you we got to keep doing what we're doing, and we need people's support to keep doing it. God opened doors to do TV and radio this year. I was able to do a radio, one of the national Christian radio station in London. I was there when the Queen died, and I was able to do a radio interview talking about the Queen and how she affected me, and how, as she was now a single woman, she was a widow, what did that mean and how did that look? And I was such an honor that they asked me to do that. But my own radio and TV in America as well. I've been able to be on several different radio shows in order to be able to share the gospel, share about the ministry, and how we need to be reaching people for Christ, as well as how to minister to singles. This year, God partnered me with Corey Nichols. Corey Nichols works for Destiny Rescue, human trafficking preventative, but he also has his own ministry. And we did a whole series of Zooms called Overcoming. overcoming temptation, overcoming fear. And it was very exciting. Lots of people tuned in, and we pray we're going to continue to do that this year. This year's Labor Day and Leaders Retreat, Singles and Leaders Retreat, this was our, I believe, 9th year, 10th year, something like that. And wow, we had more people than we've ever had before, more lives changed, more stories of how the lives changed. People, their favorite part is the prayer experience, praise and worship. Every part of it, guys, was the best it's ever been. Pastor Dan Houck came with his wife, and he was the third speaker for this year. Our theme was the Bible study that we wrote, Intentional Relationships. Excited about next year's theme, and but we're just so blessed. And we had so many great leaders and volunteers that we could not have done it without all the people involved. This year, God has provided more leaders and more volunteers for our Labor Day retreat, and even more support. We had some marriages too that came out of Labor Day. Not a ton, one or two here or whatever that we've heard about. But what's great is that they got to meet and become friends at an event that was safe. We're all about building safe friendships at Labor Day, letting God do the rest, becoming that friend, going slow, being intentional, and letting God do the rest. And then, of course, some just built great friendships, and that's really important too. At Labor Day, we also celebrated 20 years, the Singles Network Ministries, 20 years in full-time ministry. We had lots of fun. People sent in videos of their experience of being a part of the journey of me in 20 years in full-time ministry. It was so great to hear from some of these folks that they were there from the beginning, where they handed me the reins, because the Singles Network was actually started by Gary and Carolyn. They started it, they had it for 10 years before I got it. And it was just a local ministry in Raleigh, North Carolina, and God blew it up. And so I could not be here if it wasn't for them. And if it wasn't for them, in Campus Crusade, you can go back and see where the beginnings are and see the faithfulness of others that led to where you are, which continues to lead to others as you build the legacy of Christ into other people, coming alongside and helping and disciple and grow them. Also, thank you for everyone that helped with that. We had cake and balloons and flowers, and Pastor Freddie roasted me, which was, I don't know if that was fun or not. Anyway, God gives me inspiration every month to write articles highlighting. I get to write this whole past year. I wrote an article every month highlighting the changes of singles ministry, the good, the bad, the ugly, what's working well, what's not working well, what we've lost, what we've gained. If you get a chance, go and check that out at thesinglesnetwork.org and look for those articles, because I think you'd be very interested and curious. But the Lord continues to have me write leadership articles and general articles, relationship articles, as well as encourage other people. We have people that write for the website that are single parent. Some people are in leadership. Some people are just in general ministry, women's ministry. There's lots of stuff still going on out there, and I post everything that I can find whenever I can find it. God has opened doors to continue to do Zooms here in the US and in the UK, training leaders. God sent me back to the UK in September for 2 weeks. I had not been there in 2 years. And there's so much work to be done. And there's so many amazing people. So thankful for the leaders, David Kelly, Chris Kelly, Margaret, Janet. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but there's so much opportunity. That was just England. Very thankful for our new leaders in Wales, Nigel and Karina, who, by the way, got engaged on New Year's Eve, also did the study. But they are representing the intentional relationship brand in Wales, helping churches start the ministry to do Bible studies, as well as helping them with singles ministry. So thankful for them. Also, God honored me while I was in England, in London, for the 20 years of doing singles ministry, me and David King and a few others as well. Janet Wolf was in charge of it. She created the ceremony, and you know, what's funny is I got a little, I got two trophies. One was like a globe and one was a star. So one represented just serving in ministry in Europe, and one represented the 20 years. And I thought, you know, I have never gotten a trophy in my entire life for doing singles ministry. And that's how you know you're called, because you don't get a lot of awards and you don't even look for them, right? Because the last time that I got a trophy, I was like, I think I was 13. I got it for swimming. And I think once in 16, I was in junior achievement and I got some trophies. So that was really cool. And you should have seen me trying to get him back to America without him getting broken. Also, God told me to go to Southern Florida this past fall and help with Hurricane Ian relief, Samaritan's Purse. And what an honor to be able to go down there and serve. I've done hurricane relief before, but I've never done it when it's been so close, and got to meet the family. And I highlighted that on my website, as well as an article on D, which was a lady and her husband that I met who recently passed away. If you get a chance, go to the website and check out that article. It's wonderful. She literally was a light in the middle of the darkness. But you know what? We also had some loss this year. We lost Daniel Vassell, who was with the Church of God, and Daniel was one of the leading pioneers of singles ministry. He died suddenly while working in Africa. We lost Linda Harden. She ran singles for the Nazarenes for the whole country for many, many years. We lost her unexpectedly to cancer. We lost Dawn Arringdale, which was she and her husband led singles up in Michigan. And I know there were other leaders that are out there too that were leading singles or leading divorce care or grief share that have passed away. And I definitely don't want to not list them, but I don't know all of them, and I know you do, that have made a difference in your life. Also, we lost Michaela Vitkova. She had recently gotten married, wanted to be married her whole life. She was nearly 40 years old, and she was a leader in Czech Republic in Prague that I had worked with, and she passed away as well at age of about 40. Those are just the ones that I, off the top of my head, but there were many more, but they all had contributed to singles ministry and made a difference. And last year, we lost Max Holt, which was another person in singles that was powerful and made a difference in the lives. And I'm very thankful that 2 of his books I've been given the copyright to from his son, so that I can continue his legacy of his word and what God had called him to do and be able to bless others. But we've also seen some changes, and some of the changes haven't, some of them we know about and some of them we maybe don't know, but I don't want to depress us all. But the reality is singles outnumber marrieds. That hasn't changed. It's getting worse. We're simply not seeing people get married. There's not a lot of resources out there. There's not a lot of churches that are coming alongside and helping them to find safe spouses, to build safe friendships that lead to healthy marriages focused on Christ. And so we're still seeing this struggle out there with churches. Less and less pastors. There's really literally just a handful left. All the national organizations are gone. The denominational leadership is gone. And so I'm so thankful for the study with Dan Houck, but there are a few things out there. There are some churches out there that are doing some good premarital information and building on that, but we need more. Every church in the world needs to have ministry to those that are not married, to help them to have whole lives in Christ. More and more, though, on a positive note, more and more volunteers are serving, more prayer organizations, social media organizations are rising up, and people are, just saying, well, I'm going to go ahead and lead a Bible study. I'm going to go ahead and lead something in my church. I'm going to go ahead and be a divorce care leader, grief share leader, and we're praying intentional relationships leaders. So we are seeing that rise, but they need a covering, they need a protection to be able to do the work that God has called them to do, and they need support and training. So we need to be in prayer for that. We have also seen single parent and blended family ministry on the rise. Ron Deal, great person. Jennifer Maggio, Pam Canali, continue to see Dawn Vanderwerf. We're seeing still people in this area of ministry, Laura Petheridge, that have a heart and a passion for single parent ministry, blended family ministry, and they're still doing it. And we're still seeing it on a national level, and churches are way more open to help this area because they know that the children are important in our churches. And then finally, what God has done this year is He's provided for me financially. We were able to raise money through Facebook this year, our silent auction that we did at Labor Day, love offerings, and monthly partnerships. Without your financial support, we could not offer the free resources. We could not offer the free consulting. We could not help somebody on the phone that says, I'm trying to start and I don't know what to do. And, those pastors who do contact me and say, how do I help this volunteer do singles? I couldn't offer free videos. I couldn't do live at 5. There's none of these things that I could do if it wasn't for the generosity of those who donate and support and underwrite so many of the ministry expenses that we have. So we thank you so much for what you do, and we also thank you for your prayers. I have a weekly prayer team that prays for me every week, and I am so thankful for them, that they have been praying for me for years, and they see the value, they see what God is doing, and they've joined in to be a part of it, to pray. So what's coming up? Really quick, here's some things for 2023. I'm going to be doing more Zoom events with Corey Nichols, more overcoming events, and we're praying that God will open up a door for us to come and do a conference or a retreat. The same thing with intentional relationships. Pastor Dan and I would love to come and do a retreat or a conference in your church, or anything even by Zoom. The National Day of Prayer for Single Adult Ministry is going to be this Sunday, January 8th. And if you're watching this after January 8th, hopefully you will see more of these on the calendar. We are praying that we'll do one of these every other month as the Lord leads, and the opposite months we'll be doing England. But we need to be praying for singles ministry, praying for our pastors, praying for our churches. We need to be binding the enemy, because people ask me all the time, why aren't churches doing singles ministry? Well, it's not because of resources. It's not because there's not access to those resources. And it can't be because they don't know there's a need. There is. But it's simply, I believe we're dealing with spiritual warfare. The enemy doesn't want people to have healthy relationships. He wants you to be by yourself. He doesn't want you to grow, to change, to get closer to God. He doesn't want you to have healthy marriages and have children. So that's how he's doing what he's doing. If he can attack the single, specifically the male, then he wins. And so we have to decide, you know what? We're not going to let this happen. We're going to pray, and we're going to intercede, and we're going to pray for our churches and our singles and our leaders and our volunteers. So join us on the January 8th, or please check out the website at thesinglesnetwork.org for other dates. Also, I'm going to be going back to Europe in the fall, and hopefully God will open up the doors to go beyond England if that's his will. Also, we're continuing to do ministry in Uganda. Just got through sending a bunch of more books, Bible studies to Uganda. So thank you for your donations that help pay for the studies as well as the shipping. And the ministry in Uganda is so different than any ministry anywhere. They are so thankful for anything that you give them, and they really do utilize the resources. We're thankful this year. We're believing intentional relationships. It's going to be continue to be started everywhere here and in Europe, and I'll be starting one online soon, but we're praying more and more of those. The doors will open up for more and more churches. Doing a singles cruise in December 2023. Yes, a singles cruise. Stay tuned for that information. I'm going to be updating a couple of my Bible studies this year, and also Max Holt's study, and then we'll see what God has in store for anything additional. Hope to be on the radio with a single message. Working right now with someone that's helping me, kind of a mentor, and we're working on the scripts right now, and hopefully be recording this month sometime, and we'll see how God opens that door. Continuing to do live at 5 with special guests as well, and also working on a podcast for intentional relationships with Pastor Dan Houck, so be praying for that. And then traveling and speaking as the Lord opens doors. And of course, I'm available for anyone that needs some help in starting ministry, growing ministry. We just want to reach people for Jesus. And it doesn't mean that every church has to have a singles ministry, but we do want every church to minister to singles. Even if you have a prayer organization, we want to help you make sure that you're protected, that you are doing it the right way, that you're building leaders, that you're not burning out. We want you to come to Labor Day because we do offer some leadership training there, but I have lots of resources on the website. And but I also do women's ministry, and I do leadership for the church, and I do greeter ministry. And I do a little comedy. So if there's something else you're like, hey, Kris, I don't do singles, but I would love to have you come and minister to our ladies, or maybe do a fun night for the whole church, be praying about that too, because I would love to come as the Lord leads. So I wanted to leave you with this final verse, Proverbs 19:21. It says, many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. As in everything that I've listed here, God has the flexibility to move, change, adjust, close doors, open doors. I know this year won't be like last year. There'll be a few things the same. There'll be some more challenges. There'll be some ups and downs and frustrations, but there'll also be some amazing victories. Because as we keep our eyes on the Lord, If we stay in his will, we spend time with him, we get to know him, we have our, pray, we don't rush, we wait to hear his guidance, his direction, and we are at peace when he decides to say no. Like we hope one day, when it's our last day, that God will say to us, you've done good. You did what I asked you to do. So I leave that with you, to keep doing what you're doing. Thank you again for an amazing 2022 and looking forward to 2023.